Yeah, and please
don't copy.
Please don't copy this.
Please don't copy this tape.
Please don't copy this tape.
Please don't copy this videotape.
Be kind. Rewind.
What's going on?
I think one of the biggest rushes is hitting a fat old lip and getting launched and you think you're gonna land on the beach. It's definitely so much fun because you're just putting yourself into a situation where Mother Nature's gonna launch you.
When you're up at the top and you're kind of watching the wave, you're looking around your sail, you're looking through your sail, and you see it peaking up down there and you're upwind of the peak, you know that's going to be an aerial wave, and your bottom turn is going to be a little bit different. But I still make a nice hard bottom turn over sheet, but you're not trying to go so straight up the wave. You're kind of trying to go more at it and then turn off of the lip and have the lip throw you up. Instead of kind of going to it and trying to jump with it, you want it to throw you.
The most important thing is you know you want to get air, okay? You want to get air off the lip, and how do you get air? You have to jump. So what I do is I get a jump and go out the back. Go out the back. I probably did that maybe 1,000 times. What I figured out finally was you have to lean forward. It's like doing nose first jumps where you actually lean forward, and you notice you can get into the wave, back into the wave. If you cock your board up and forward back into the wave instead of jumping up like this, you might have a tendency to go over the bars, curl, and that'll happen, but I think finally you'll learn a medium. But the biggest thing, I think, is committing to the move. You really have to commit, leaning forward and really directing where you want to go.
Oh, little kid, oh, no, he sounds good, doesn't he? Yeah. Yeah, he's ripping.
Well, basically what I figured out from watching a lot of sailors when I was like a couple years ago is on an aerial, when you go up to the lip, like rotate your body so your side's pointing towards the face of the wave. That makes you go back automatically onto the face of the wave without going out the back. Torque your body as hard as you can and push it as hard as you can. Use everything you got to get in front of the wave. You're not stuck with your pants down in the white water.
And as you're hitting it, you kind of launch, jumping, tight your body, get your body all tight, your rig all close to your butt and everything, so it seems like you're higher. And then when you're landing, you kind of extend and float in like a bird does. If you're all extended, all kooky like this, like Josh Angulo or something, then you gotta land like that. But no, his aerials go off.
So you don't actually want to get too vertical of a bottom turn. Josh Angulo, he'll go straight down the line, and he'll just use his hips to throw his board up into the lip. And that's how come he can get such high aerials, you know?
In onshore conditions, it's much more difficult. You've got to open the sail up a whole lot, opening the clue up just as you're extending off the top. It's more of the power of the wave and also your momentum to get you off the top.
Aerials, we'll talk about tweaked aerials. Now what you want to do is just hit a normal aerial, you pop it out, and then at the last second you want to extend your legs completely. So when you extend your legs, it kicks your board out, and it gives it that tweak feeling. The way you can tell that it's tweaked is the batten will hit your leg and you'll feel it scrape up and down your leg, and then you know you tweak the board out. Instead of the lip that I'm actually going to hit, I visualize a lip about a foot above the lip that I'm going to hit. And I hit the lip really late, and when I start cranking my turn off the top, I'm pretending I'm cranking it off a lip about a foot above the actual lip. It's real important that when you come down, you bring everything back to normal. You have to make sure that you're flat on top of your board, because if you're going sideways in the whitewash, it's going to spin your tail out and you're just going to slide straight in the wind and just eat crap. So
timing is crucial. You want to make sure that the wave's not going to die when you go up and hit it, and you're not going to be too late. As soon as you catch air, you just throw your feet as hard as you can. Just express yourself right there. Just give it all you can, you know, just tweak. They're a relatively simple looking move, but when you're actually doing them, you can see that there's a lot going on there with getting up into the air and then getting your feet to come up over your head and twisting and tweaking your board, which is the most radical if you can get that tweak in there. What it takes to do something like that is a pretty steep ramp, so you can just get shot up into the air, kind of like very similar to that of the ramp that you need for a back loop. Go up and really try and throw my feet up over my head, and then your hand kind of gets twisted up in the boom, and when your arm's all locked up in the boom, you know that you've kind of got your board pointing down and you're all twisted and locked, and it feels really good. But then that's where the hard part comes in, is getting back out of that position and getting back to where you land without breaking your ankles, because a lot of people, they'll do that and they'll get stuck there and they'll land and their feet are on the opposite side, and then they just, you know, they hurt themselves. They're one of the most dangerous moves, I think, because you can really get messed up.
There's a trick to tabletops. The trick to tabletops is when you're going up, okay, you see the wave, you have to have a steep chop. Even if it's not very high, it has to be steep. So it has to be pretty much like a vertical wall to hit you up. So once it hits you up, don't worry about where you put your legs. All the guys go, oh, you kick your legs in front and do this and that and that. I never thought about my legs. The trick is you hit the chop, it pushes you up already. You look under your backhand, like right under your backhand. You throw your body to like look, you throw your whole body to look under your backhand like this, just because I'm holding the boom. And it automatically makes your hips twist forward and your board will be in front of you like that, and you'll be doing a tabletop. Like the guys don't do this, but there's one girl. Coming to the waves, I'm actually standing pretty upright and I'm sheeting out sometimes, like even, especially in loops, like I sheet out before I come to the wave to slow myself down, but you don't have to be going fast and you don't want to be going fast. If you're going fast, I know, you crash worse. But for women, we're not strong enough to hold our landings. So you sheet out and slow yourself down. You don't need to be going like 50 knots when you do anything.
It's a whole lot of fun because all of a sudden your sights aren't where you expect them to be. They're opposite. You're going backwards. The more you're able to tweak your normal tabletop, the easier it is going to be for you to take your backhand off. Just let go. Don't stay hooked in. That's very important. I used to try to do them hooked in, but I could never extend as far as I'd like to. When I let go, I turn around and face the beach with my hand extended outward. You don't want to land in that position. It's not really comfortable. Just think about really pushing your front hand forward to bring the clew of the sail back towards you and catching it with the backhand, and then go for a tail first landing. So just try to bring it around as much as possible. Unless you're super high and you can't bring it around, it's not going to snap your ankles off. It's very easy also to land flat on this jump because you're coming in blind. So really extend your back leg for a tail first landing, and then keep your rig upright as you hit the water.
That is the trick to tabletops.
Being a woman, you know, guys usually see you on a wave, see you on a really nice wave, they go, oh, it's a chick. Boom, turn on your wave. You speak to all the girls and the guys drop onto their waves, and then the guys stand up winning them and go, 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 you know, and the wave's not doing anything. So you go and have the most terrible wave ride because it's like on this crap wave, or you miss it totally.
The whole thing is that men, most of the time, they just assume that a woman's not going to hit the lip, so they will bottom turn around her and smack it.
You have to let them know.
Don't let them go. Bottom turn and hit it, and if you land on top of him, well, that's his problem.
I would usually bear straight off the wind and just go directly towards him like I was going to crash into him out of control. And get really close to him and then turn at the last second. Then the next time they'd be like, that chick is crazy. I'm not getting near her anywhere. So then they'd stay away from me.
The bottom line is we're actually riding a lot less waves than the men, especially in the learning stages. So it's important to make the most out of it when you do get a wave.
It turns into a joke because everybody cuts you off. You don't learn anything.
Seeing other guys out there, it's really hard to relate to them. So you do need other women out there shredding.
Hi, I'm Fred Johnson, and I work for Nash Sails. I usually sweep the loft over here, but sometimes they let me play with the stuff and go sailing after I'm done with work. And basically Nash Sails has two wave lines, the Hokua line and the Nalu line, because it's absolutely impossible to design one wave sail that's perfect for everybody. It's a real personal discipline, and different people like different things out of their gear, and these are pretty different.
What works for one guy definitely doesn't work for the next, so you're kind of in one of those situations with wave sails where you can please some of the people all the time, but you can't please them all the time because it's really subjective, and then where they sail and the conditions have a lot to do with it too.
People like myself, I'm 5'9", and I'm about 145, for example. I tend to use generally a higher aspect, shorter boom sail for wave sailing. It's just my style, whereas somebody like Robbie, he's about the same size, but he's a bit heavier, and he's obviously pretty strong. He likes to use a little bit longer boom. You know, he needs that power all the time. Whereas for me, it's not that important. Control is a little bit more important for me.
Mainly there are three types of wave sails. Soft sails, which are really the originals and have been modified. And then soft RAFs, which are usually a 4-batten sail. And then full hard wave sails, which are a 5-batten sail. The tendency of soft sails is that the range is for light to medium winds, and the hardest of the hard 5-batten sails is generally good in overpowered conditions. Those are the most dramatic differences between the types of wave sails.
That's the main thing that dictates the outline of the sail is the boom length more than anything, because if you get the boom short, the luff length has to grow because you just don't want the head too fat. You want kind of a consistent ratio of taper from the boom area to the head.
Onshore sails can handle having longer booms because you're basically between the wave and the sail when you're surfing. But side shore and side off, it's better to have a little shorter boom. When you have onshore conditions, you need a lot more power, and you need the ability to be able to get out through the surf, basically going upwind. And when you're in side shore or side off, the last thing you need is more power. What you need is control and the ability to maneuver when you're overpowered, hugely overpowered.
A hard 5-batten wave sail is designed to twist off more like a race sail, and so that when you want to depower the sail, you don't have to sheet out, as the sail twists off more.
Full batten, 5-batten, much less luff curve, which makes the leech more open. The draft starts out further forward, but then it's allowed through the shaping and less luff curve to move back as you get powered up. Much freer leech. It's designed to be kind of a get in the harness and go, bump and jump sort of sail. It's fast, it's springier. There's a lot more reaction in the leech because of having less luff curve. You know, basically it's that constant power sort of wave sail that a lot of people like, especially if they're sailing conditions that aren't real good wave conditions. You know, little onshore crappy stuff where speed is a real factor because you don't really have good waves anyway. That's what a lot of people are looking for.
Soft sail, because the battens don't go forward, actually it does not have built-in leech twist. So it takes wind to have this sail twist off. The benefit of this is that in light wind, the sail does not twist, giving you a lot more power.
A half-batten situation started a long time ago with people wanting to control their speed. A lot of times you get going really fast down a wave and you want to be able to luff the sail. People like Robbie, for example, really use that to their advantage. You know, they power on, power off constantly. If you're doing any kind of tricks that require, you know, passing through the eye of the wind, like duck tacks or things like that, or, you know, a lot of the basic tricks nowadays, it's really nice to have that ability to just power off.
I like a really light feel in a sail where there's not too much power, you know, where you have with a lot of the 5-batten sails and a lot of the sails that have a lot of power. You initiate into your bottom turn, and then coming off the top, you still got that power in the sail, and you can't snap the board you know, around as quick as what you would do if you had, you know, no power at all. So off the bottom, it's good for power, and then off the top, it's just like a release, so there's nothing there. So it's basically not even having a sail there, so you can just do a really nice, hard, aggressive turn, just like you were surfing without a sail.
And the 4-batten RAF style sail, it's sort of a cross between the two.
The sailors tend to not really like a leech that really flops around a lot. They like some tension off the clew all the way up to the head so that the sail stays with them as they do really radical off-the-top maneuvers. If the leech is swinging really hard from side to side, then it tends to mess them up in the middle of a forward or in the middle of a big aerial.
Because of that tight leech, the draft doesn't move around. The draft starts out pretty far back and it stays there, where on most other wave sails these days the draft is really far forward and then it moves back as the leech starts to twist, and you end up doing a lot of this, which I personally don't like much. This is more my style of sail. I usually use it with a short batten. Most other people on the team use it with the full batten. Again, it's a personal preference thing.
So the reality is that today's rig probably weighs half as much as a state-of-the-art rig did 7 years ago. It makes a huge difference in how you can sail, the conditions you can sail in, how much fun you'll have at sailing in those conditions, and the kinds of maneuvers you'll be able to pull off.
The 360 seems to be a maneuver that impresses a lot of people more than other things. There's different types of 360s. The ones where you're just hitting the lip, like kind of staying in the wave, or an aerial 360 where you fly through the air, doing a 360, which is actually preferable because you can sometimes land planing out of those. Come down on a wave, you're bottom turning, you're timing it so that you're gonna hit it right as it's cracking. You wanna be halfway through the 360 at least, or 3/4 before you whip it around all the way. And you're throwing your rig and everything back into the wave. So once you get up to the top of the lip, you wanna use all your weight to get back into the wave and not go out the back. You gotta keep your board, your body kind of tucked underneath you so that when you land at the bottom of the wave, you can get your sail up and clear it out of the water and keep riding. Weight and body momentum is a big factor in the 360, as well as other maneuvers like, forward loops and things like that. The best wind conditions for 360s have got to be like side offshore, something you can go down the line right on. You got to at least be able to go right, because you need some speed. You don't want too much speed or you'll go out the back, but you need enough speed to continue your rotation, and enough wind to lift your sail up out of the water so you can continue for your next turn. You totally want to avoid hitting your mast tip on the lip. The wave needs to be a pretty bowly section. Best is a bowl section into a mushy section, so that when you hit it, you don't go out the back, or you don't just kind of fold up. You can continue and keep riding. Use the wave to really do the 360. The timing is everything, but if you hit it just right at the right time, you can make it around. Your board will get knocked back into the wave with the lip, and you won't get covered up by the white water too much. You'll be able to clear your sail and get ready for your next turn.
See a big, slow rotating back loop, I think it's easy to relate to because it's really functional, beautiful maneuver that not everybody can do even today. It's still pretty difficult.
They're considerably harder than the forward loop because when you come out of the loop itself, you have a very narrow range for your landing. It's something that, like anything else, that takes a lot of practice and a lot of crashes before it's successful.
The trick to landing a back loop is do it in 2 steps. Step number 1 is go straight up like you're gonna do a super vertical jump. Just go straight up, don't even think about back loop. The trick is to get up to your apex, kill your forward speed, kill all directions. You don't wanna be moving. You wanna almost feel like you're just dead stop in the air. Then you bring it into the wind right when you hit the dead stop. See, most people are afraid that if I bring it into the wind at that point, I'm not gonna make the rotation, but it's wrong. If you get to the very top of your jump, bring it into the wind, and then look over your shoulder, you drop. And when you look over your shoulder, it brings your whole board and your whole rig right around. At the top, you want to be tucked, because you get the most height by tucking up. If you want to rotate further, you stay tucked, because the tuck keeps you rotating. If you want to stop the rotation, you extend.
You can afford to do that in a high back loop. On a low back loop, you don't really have time to stall out the loop at all. It's very hard to change your rotation once you've left the wave into the jump. So the setup, the entire jump is done on the exit off the wave face.
don't think you're gonna do a back loop. Just go as high as you can, like just straight back into the sand. Don't land with your tail first or kick it at the very end and the board goes like that, because it really hurts on your knees and ankles. Basically just bend your knees and absorb the landing, and a good way to do that is by poking with the nose into the wire.
He does probably some of the raddest ones. Cisco comes up, he hits the most critical bowling section. It shoots him straight up in the air, and instead of even turning in the wind, what Cisco will do is look straight over his shoulder, and his stuff just falls like sideways. He's so vertical that he's basically through the loop before he even comes down. And he just drops straight down and sticks it nose first and just standing there perfect.
You got clue first back loops now. You got your one-handed, you got your one-footed, one-handed. You got, you know, something you can throw into a back loop, maybe like a tabletop into a back loop, or, you know, use your imagination.
The rocker is just taken over the whole waveboard scene. Almost anybody that's on a waveboard these days is going to be on a DeSasio Polical rocker. Now, the wide points and the V's, they all vary depending on the shaper certain taste, but really the father of the modern waveboard these days has been DeSasio.
This is our slalom rocker. This one right here. You can see it's a little bit flatter in the back. So he's pretty much dead flat back here in the back. Okay, but in the back here, this is our wave rocker. This one, you can see there's a lot more curve back here in the back. This is not straight back here like this one is. If we got them real close, it's too bad we can't see exactly what it is. You can see how that one has a bit of tail kick back here in the back. This is our wave rocker.
What we're doing in rocker these days, instead of bringing the curve to the mast track, which makes the board looser and you can go vertical much easier, is that we're straightening out these areas. This being where the mast would be, this is where your feet would be, and this is generally a straighter area. And what this does is in lighter winds and kind of marginal conditions, it causes the board to plane up really, and also it makes you faster down the line. It makes the board easier to ride. And it also allows us, one of the major things is it's allowing us to get the boards shorter. So generally someone who's been riding an 8.6 can now ride like an 8.2 and 8.4.
I use Twinsers because that's how it came, and I like the skateboard. Feels very loose, skateboardy.
Single fin is working the best for us right now, so it's hard to get away from something that you really like.
That's the thing with Twinsers too. You come off the top of the board and you hit, if you're not hitting a section and there's not a wave to push you back, or if the waves are very soft, you can't come back. That's why it's really scary when you're in mast high or bigger, because you have to hit the section to come back. You can't just do a nice cut back like you can on a single fin. So because it either slides and you just fall out the back of the wave, or you just go straight.
Most of the guys are going back towards single fins. I've done the single fins, the twin fins, and the thruster, and I really like the thruster feeling the best, because it seems like, especially when it's a little bit more onshore or it's not as great sideshore conditions, the thruster seems to help a little bit making your own speed off of these fins.
See, onshore, when the wind's onshore, I had a Twinser board and I don't like it at all because I don't find it's as fast and I can do what I want. With a single fin, it's easier to jump, I find, too.
We've been working on something new that I've been kind of trying to get something different going, is what we're calling here the inline fin. We have a 7 1/4 inch front fin and a 3 3/4 inch back fin. And what this allows me to do is put the fins further forward while still having a small area of a fin. And so you get really the looseness from having it further forward. I don't know if you can see where my foot strap is. I'm standing pretty much directly over my fin, whereas normally the leading edge is on the back of the foot strap for most people. And so having it really forward like that makes it really loose, but at the same time having the little fin behind it makes it almost like how a slotted fin works. It sort of makes it really stable, so you don't really spin out unless you really want to. But at the same time too, it's not slow like a slotted fin because it's two separate fins. And it's actually like having a really wide-based fin that goes upwind really well.
Well, the noses got so narrow, they got way too narrow. The boards wouldn't get out through the surf. They'd poke a lot, and you couldn't. A wider front gets you out through the surf easier, it's easier to plane, and it points higher upwind all the time. So that is something that worked in all the different fin designs. It doesn't matter what tail design you're riding, a wider nose has helped those boards a lot.
You know, you look in magazines of surfers when they're turning, they've got their rail buried all the way up into here, which is something that I think we ignored as windsurfers because we've got a sail and everything, but man, to get a radical bottom turn, you need every bit of this rail up here to keep you driving and to keep you going and to keep you turning.
We're generally putting the wide point in the center. Last year, a lot of the trend was to put the wide point really far back, making the board real egg-like.
Just recently with my team rider Luke Hargraves, he's been asking me to push my wide points back to an inch above center, which has probably been 5 years or so since it's crawled back forward of center, but just an inch.
In Mark's board, mainly what I do different in his compared to most boards that I shape is I just bring the deck really far down and make it a harder edge down here. So it's more of a slalom board rail, but low enough that it can just grab and hold in and cause the board to really project off the bottom versus a fatter rail generally. In smaller waves it'll work great, in bigger waves it just loads up too much.
I like it really thin because you get the control. Because we're small, it's like you can drive the board, you can drive the rails into the water because of the size. So when you're doing your bottom turn, you can lean in and you can sink the rail. If you have a boxier or a bigger board, and because we're so small, it's like you can't get the board in, the board will start skipping out because you can't hold the rail in the water. So that's why I like it quite thin like this.
Yeah, a lot of guys like to make them super thin, knifey rails that sure they work great when it's windier and you know you got pretty good sized waves, but most of the time it's not like that. So we try and make boards that are a little bit floatier, a little bit more user friendly, as I'd say.
Very popular is a dome deck, bringing the back third of the board very pinched rail, but from there it just gets real full and the most amount of fullness has come back to the top third, whereas a few years ago they wanted the fullness here in the back or in the middle area, but everybody's found out that they can't put their pressure forward anymore, so the mass rail volume's going forward again along with the wide point, mainly to compensate for the style people want to ride at. Again, Polakau is totally leading the way on all those aspects. Everybody's watching what he's doing.
We don't stop playing around, and literally every board we have has something slightly different. And those are the sort of progressions that are really worth a lot more in the long run than big jumps onto, you know, from single fin to thruster. That's quite a big jump, or single fin to twin fin. Pretty much we're just trying to keep the lines clean and simple. So there's no there's no magic to it except just, it's up to the sailor to make the board work how he likes it to.
And I think in general, all the shapers of the world have really helped out a lot in keeping it fun and getting more surf and tighter in the pockets. It's done real well.
One thing I can say about big surf is that it's scary. Can you hold your breath for that long, or are you gonna sit there and, you know, call mommy or what?
I think that the best big wave riders have respect for what they're doing, and they slowly, progressively get more radical.
But you get trapped a lot easier. You can't outrun stuff. That's the key thing, you know? It just takes getting swiped one time nice by a big peak, and you're just gonna get folded, and that's it. It's over.
In really big surf, and that's what we're talking about here, you only get one wipeout. Once that wipeout's over, your rig's in pieces 99% of the time, so you just worry about yourself.
You're down in big surf, you gotta be able to look at where you're headed, see where your gear is, if it's in one piece or not. You gotta be able to count the factors, you know, what's more important here, saving my own ass or saving my gear? You know, it's a big decision sometimes. People really like their gear.
When I know that I'm about to get drilled by the big wave, I just take a big breath, hopefully jump into the water, get 6 feet underwater, and then just let it do what, never fight it. You never fight it. Fighting it would be ridiculous.
You gotta be able to look at the conditions before you go out and honestly ask yourself, can I make it out of the worst possible situation I could get myself in here? And you gotta ask yourself that, because you gotta expect it. You know, and windsurfing gives you a false sense of security when you're up there with your big sail powering around. And the second you don't have it, the second you're down, you're swimming.
I don't sit there with my watch and see how many waves are in a set and see how long they take between big sets. But once I get to the spot and I'm rigging up, I'm just looking around and trying to be real mellow and just watching as I rig. That seems to educate me enough that when I get out there, I pull my first few waves of just riding it and get used to the power, get used to where I should be. You got lineups on the beach, hopefully you're near a beach. And once you pick your lineups, then you just cautiously play with the wave until you understand it. And then maybe by the 5th, 6th, 7th wave, you're right in the pit and you're just having a good time.
On the bigger days, it tends to be bumpier no matter what. Occasionally you'll get 4 to 6 foot days where it's glassy and you don't have to worry too much about when you do initiate your bottom turn about bouncing out too much. But usually on the bigger days, you're gonna have a cross chop. For one, you have to have a board that's usually gunnier, and usually you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 waves coming in. You know, try and take the last set. For one, you're not gonna have to worry about the waves afterwards, so you can really enjoy the wave. You don't have to stress about trying to make it out or getting pushed on the rocks. And just take the last wave of the set. It's the best wave to take. If it's available there, I was just about to say something like that. You never know.
Okay, as you get into bigger waves, what happens is your board starts to pick up so much speed, you're not confident on your turn. The number one thing about big waves is to always feel confident about your turn. What I do is I lean my sail back a bit, and that way I have full, clear view of the line and where I'm gonna draw my line. And I wait for lip to peak, and I come down to the bottom of the wave. I don't drop from the very top, because if you drop from the top, you're flying so fast that when you lay down your carve, you have so much speed that you hit a chop, you bounce out, and then this 10-foot white water just smashes you, and you're in the rocks swimming for all day. I've noticed some of the guys who really do a beautiful bottom turn do like a slalom jive on the face. The problem with the sail in big waves is it's in your way. You know what I mean? Once you're dropping down the face, you really don't need the sail all that much until you come back off the lip. So the trick is to get the sail out of the way and make sure it's not adding extra power that you don't want. So instead of like letting out the backhand and just floating down the wave and then have no control because that sail gives you stability by hanging onto the boom, you want to bring it in and down and sheet it in. If you oversheet, it kills the power completely. You're moving away from the wind with the wave, so you're not going to get the backwind that you'd expect. That's why Bjorn rides big waves pretty good. Donkey, you wouldn't expect him to be riding big waves, good, because he's a little bit stiff. But he has such an incredible slalom turn. You see, he just lays the sail down like he's doing a slalom turn on the face, and he has the perfect big wave bottom turn that way. Robbie does the same thing, but they know how to control that. You can do that. I mean, you've got the big wave thing wired.
Helps to learn how to swim, stuff like that.
really overcome your fear. It's part of it. It's an adrenaline thing. It's like you'll always have some sort of fear there.
I think just from pushing so hard and really being aggressive, you're bound to get hurt every now and then. But I think I'm really surprised at how few people do get injured windsurfing, because it is, I mean, there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of sharp objects, a lot of blunt objects, and I mean, it's really easy to get hurt, and I'm surprised not many people do get very injured.
But some people are just more fearless than others. So you look at Jason, if he rides motocross and does all that stuff, he's pretty fearless. That's why he sails like he does. He's out of control, crazy. You watch the people who are fearless, they do sail better. And then the people who are consciously thinking about things that could happen, and they know, there's always a problem.
Everyone goes through that phase of breaking equipment and injuring yourself, but it's definitely a phase, because I haven't been hurt in probably 3 years now.
The days you don't feel like you want to do something, don't. Because if you don't feel like you want to do it, there's obviously a reason. We don't know what the reason is.
I think the scariest part of wave sailing is getting held under. It's imperative to just relax. I make a conscious effort to take a deep breath before I hit a lip, because then when I get worked, I would just have a little oxygen supply there. And I also count underwater. I just say relax and count. And you'd be surprised at how short a time you're actually being held under, even though it seems like an eternity.
Something I do so I don't get too injured a lot too is I make my foot straps really big so that I can always get out of my straps.
When you're jamming your foot into the strap, it's really narrow and it sort of secures that you're not moving around in the strap, but you still have room to move your foot up and down as you're coming off the top, or as you're going for a jump and stuff, your feet don't pop out.
And it's not like wide like this and have a lot of movement like that. So what I like is it just gives me more control.
I ride my straps pretty loose. I mean, I curl my toes up most of the time to keep my foot in there.
To be really safe, you need really stiff straps to be able to get in and out of them so they stay where you put them.
I get stuck sometimes. That's a sad story about it.
If the board starts twisting and it's gonna twist my ankle or twist my leg or something like that, I let go of the board first, and then I try as hard as possible to hang on to the booms. It's the easiest thing to hang on to. And at a place like at Okipa, you really don't want to lose your equipment, because obviously it can go on the rocks.
Have you got any of those gaiters yet? They're fairly new manoeuvre, so I'd say at the moment they're hard to make on the wave, but I'm sure if you ask me the same question next year, I'll say, you know, they're probably as easy as a 360. But they're really good fun manoeuvre, you know, between 3 and 4 foot surf, cross offshore wind. Pretty good time to try it.
Okay, goiters. I haven't been this frustrated since 360s. You come off the lip, it's just doing an arrow off the lip, and then throwing your sail into a push loop. A push loop's when you throw your sail like a reverse cheese roll. You go into the wind, and your sail gets backwinded, and it rotates you. You've got to complete the rotation. So the trick to the goiter is whipping the sail as hard as you can, no matter how you do it, flat or vertical, so that you get it through the eye of the wind, and then pushing your clue down so it catches the wind. And you'll find that you're totally twist that makes for some of the most radical looking pictures, you know, because you're as tweaked as you can be. The key to doing them is speed, mostly. If you're going really fast, when you hit the lip and you hit that aerial and you throw it into the wind, you're moving away from the wind, so it's not really pushing too hard on your sail, because if you get a big gust, the sail just slams you right in the face because you're backwinding your sail. You know, try stand on a board and just backwind your sail, smashes your boom in the face. So the trick to the goiter is getting so much speed that when you hit the lip and you throw everything back, it's kind of the momentum of your body that does it, and the wind doesn't do anything to your sail because you're moving away from the wind at the same speed of the wind, so it's not filling your sail, and that's pretty much the key from what I gather.
Well, it's a wannabe world and you're a wannabe girl, but you can't find the right lust to suit ya. It's a make-believe life, yes, you're living a lie, 'cause you can't find the right truth to loot ya. You're living a game, but would life be the same if you had no fan base to root ya? It could all go away in a matter of days when the revolution comes and unglues ya. 'Cause it's a wannabe world. Yes, it's a wannabe world. And it's a wannabe world. Yes, it's a wannabe world. Your brain to remain the same, 'cause you like this situation. You must hide the key from people like me who want to change this institution. There's miles and miles of your plastic smiles with the scent of makeup poison. If you take it away and be yourself for a day, you will be you on this occasion. 'Cause it's a wannabe world, and it's a wannabe world, and it's a wannabe world. Yes, it's a wannabe world.
I don't know, maybe I got a simple mind, I just see it easy. I think if you start getting complicated, then you forget about, oh, I have to press hard on the back foot, go over there and do that and do this, and then you forget. I just go.